Good morning, you glorious stack of sunshines. I hope you're having a wonderful day. So, in this little very short microdose, I want to explain a what if scenario. What if you have got a great big family secret whereby so-and-so doesn't know who so-and-so's biological parents was, and it's all been kept quiet, and then people pass away and the secret's still going on and you're the only one remaining. What do? Do you keep hold of the secret or do you let the truth out? I have a theory, and that is that three things come out in the end: the sun, the moon, and the truth. And it's going to be, I'm going to use this lady that I did a reading for as an example. I've made up some fictitious names. Basically, her sister was in an abusive relationship and the man wanted to have a baby and she dare not give him what he wanted. And for whatever reason, there was no conception between her and the abusive partner, probably because she was so stressed. And obviously her needs weren't being met in that relationship, in that marriage. So she decided to go and have an affair. And she got pregnant by this man. But she told her husband that the pregnancy, the baby, was actually his. Now, she feared this man, her husband, so much that when the baby was born, she actually gave him to her sister and mom to bring up. So the baby then thinks that, you know, my mum obviously couldn't cope with me, or they didn't want me, but I'm happy because I've got my auntie and my mum and my dad bringing me up, and happy days. Meanwhile, the sister, let's call her Janet, is watching her own son being brought up by the people, missing out on the motherhood, and the abusive partner is probably thinking, well, who cares, the baby probably would have been inconvenienced anyway, and the lover is thinking, well, I enjoyed having the love affair and the fling and the sex and or whatever that went with it, but at least I don't have to carry around that responsibility. So we've got all these dynamics going on. It's like one big spider web of deceit and lies, and everyone's keeping it quiet. We don't want to let the cat out of the bag. We don't want to rock the boat. So her sister carries on in being in this abusive relationship. She never escapes. She never breaks free. The man that's the manipulator and the controller keeps on getting his own way, but is never satisfied because he's having to look for sources of energy. If you can't manipulate her, I'll manipulate my work, or I'll manipulate my friends, or I'll manipulate whatever I can manipulate. So when we incarnate, we sign up for lessons. We think we've already agreed before we come here that we're going to learn in this lifetime how to deal with guilt, or how to deal with devotion, or how to deal with self-sacrifice, or how to deal with acceptance, and how to dealing with the truth, which is what one of the massive lessons for this whole family had involved. But the sister, the woman that came for reading, I'll call her Paula, felt terrible that in the end, after her sister and her husband, as in the sister's husband, had passed away, and her mum and dad had gone, that she was the only one remaining. So she decides to tell, I'll call him Andrew, the son. She decides to tell him, actually, your dad isn't who you think it is. And of course, Andrew's going to feel shocked, betrayed. Let's call the love affair man Colin. He's going to think, thanks for that. And everyone turns on Paula for letting the cat out of the bag. Why did you do that for? Now look what you've done. You've caused mayhem. Everyone's been living a lie for all these times, and then you've gone ahead and just blown it all out the water. And so she's then ostracized, isolated from everybody, seen as a gossip monger or a shit stirrer, or wherever she was seen. And what she came to me for is she wanted to know if her sister and her mum and dad and the abusive partner would forgive her for letting the truth out. And she couldn't move on with her life because she felt she couldn't be damned if she did and damned if she didn't. If she didn't tell the truth, then she was carrying around that guilt, knowing that she was carrying around this lie with her. But that also, by letting the cat out of the bag, she felt she'd betrayed family members. And I said, let's look at it a different way. What if none of that had happened? then none of your family would have learned an act of true love and devotion and self-sacrifice. Her sister had given away the baby out of an act of protection. She wanted to protect the baby from the abusive partner. Not that she didn't want the baby, she just didn't want him to be abused or subjected to fighting, arguing, or whatever negative thoughts, feelings, emotions, or actions were going on in that household. So what she did by giving her baby away, it was an act of love. And the abusive partner, well, what was his role in all that? Had he not been abusive, then they wouldn't have been able to learn these lessons. And is that making him a bad man in this lifetime? Maybe there's a lesson there. Maybe he has to learn in his next lifetime, if he didn't learn it in a previous one, that if you feel the need to manipulate and control people, it's probably because you've got some deep-rooted problem yourself. You need to feel good within yourself, not try and use everything else as a source of energy. Stop being a parasite and feeding off other people and circumstances. That was his lesson. And sometimes if you're aware of it in this lifetime, then you can just be aware of what's going on and change your course of behaviour. Equally for Janet, the person that was stuck in the abusive relationship, because she didn't escape in this lifetime and have courage, the virtue of courage and strength, then she's going to come back and learn a lesson the next time round. You've got to be courageous, you've got to break free, you've got to be strong. And it also would have taught her abusive partner that, manipulating and controlling people isn't acceptable behaviour. That you're not going to grow by using other people as a source of fuel. You've got to learn to grow yourself. Love yourself. Only love is real at the end of the day. So there's all this energy being thrown around. And to get to the point, Paula, or that's the name I'm going to use, felt as though she had this great big cannonball in life. She's carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, couldn't move on. She'd lived this life for 40 odd years, and as it happened, the baby, grown man now, I'll call him Andrew, was totally fine with it all. He understood that his mom was protecting him. He understood that the focus was about him having a happy childhood and having a supportive lifestyle so he could grow up and be the great man that he is today. So he would have learnt himself that love, devotion, self-sacrifice are good virtues, and that his upbringing was one of not deceit and negativity and keeping secrets, but one that was done as an act of love. So when we come here, we're here to learn lessons. We're not here to dwell on them. And so by me explaining this to this lady, Paula, the client, that this is a lesson in karma, and that she hadn't betrayed her family. She'd actually taken a hit for the team by telling the truth. She put her own neck on the line. So that was, again, an act of devotion and self-sacrifice, which at the end of the day wasn't about clearing her mind. It wasn't for selfish reasons. It was an act of love. And so that she didn't have to carry it to the grave herself, because her sister would never got a chance to tell her son, actually, this is the reason I gave you away. So her sister was left to the job to do it for her sister, obviously, and for her mum and her dad that also passed over before the truth came out. So if you're carrying around, if you've been in a situation where you're carrying around some deep hidden secret, it's time to let it go. Because if you don't let it go, you're going to have a life of pretty much misery. It's going to be gnawing away in your mind. It keeps popping up, or you'll see similar situations going on around you, or feel like, you're a bad person because you haven't told the truth. So by understanding that what appears to be a web of deceit or one big lie, there is another twist on it. There's another side to it. And So I got her to visualize. I said, where in your body is this horrible feeling of guilt and betrayal? And she said the heart chakra, but it was like the here. So in your heart, sometimes the solar plexus, a bit lower down in the body. And if it's the case that you feel guilty because you weren't there when someone was crossing over, or you didn't feel that you spent enough time with your loved ones, or you didn't give them enough of your energy or your money, or you know, you didn't do this and do that and didn't do the other, you're going to make yourself sick. You're going to feel depressed, you're going to feel anxious, you're going to feel guilty, and then your body's going to get sick. Well, we don't want that. We're not here to be sick, we're here to be well. And by being well, you can spread more love and light and positive vibes and positive energy towards people. If you're a sick person, you're not much good to anybody. Whereas if you're living a life of honesty, and then you can be free, and that inspires you to, you'll inspire other people by being truthful. So the way I visualize it, or I got her to visualize it, is like this big black cube of horrible gunk. Be like pulling a horrible hair out of a plug hole or something, you know, or going fishing and reeling it in, expecting to find a nice big fish at the end of it, and there's a boot or something. So you close your eyes and get yourself relaxed. No point trying to do it while the phone's ringing, whatever. You got to switch off everything, have a moment of peace. It's only a few minutes of your lifetime a few minutes of your life for a bit of lifetime of freedom and a bit more peace of mind, which is priceless. So you close your eyes and you find where on the body you're holding this negativity, and put a colour on it, put a shape on it. Maybe it's like one of those wiggly, horrible, slimy monster pots or something. And then I want you to imagine like some kind of industrial vacuum cleaner or suction force pulling out all this dreggings. I've seen this happen during psychic surgery. I used to do a lot of Reiki, but I don't do that so much these days as people better at it. So why would I want to do it? So you're pulling out all this gunk, all this junk from your body, your mind, your soul, your auric field. And you are then, you can do one or two things. You can either imagine it being thrown out into the universe for the greater good and being transmuted, because energy doesn't go away, it just changes. So rather than being negative energy, it's been turned into positive energy. I got her to see this big gunk coming out, and I said, turn it into a big pink helium balloon. And I want it to float away. So what was dark, lower energy becomes more love and light. And then take it and spread it away for the greater good. And then we did a cleansing technique. So she's cleansed her mind, body, chakras of all these negative thoughts, reasons. So what I want you to do, basically, without wanting to go on about removing of negative energy, which I'll cover in other things, I want you to, number one, know that when we do things to protect other people, that's all well and good, so long as it doesn't harm you or anyone else. It's protect people by all means, but don't live their life for them. And then, you know, it's about forgiving the parties involved. It's a bit like being on a stage where there's all these different actors and players. And look at it from a higher perspective. If you've been finding yourself that you've been living the lie or been stuck in a trap, then you're just going to keep, unless you clear it up and break the wheel of karma in this lifetime, you're going to keep on coming back and doing it all over again. So that's why if you're stuck in a destructive relationship or work situation or financial situation, you've got to snap it or nip it in the bud. Otherwise, it's just going to keep on coming, and if anything, grow and escalate. So people then say, well, what about the abusive bloke? The one that was horrible to Janet in this lifetime. Well, he was sent here to act out that role so that all the other people learned about love, devotion, self-sacrifice. Does that make him a bad person? No, in a previous lifetime he could have been a good man. But in this, like, basically he had to learn, and one of his lessons would have been that to be self-sufficient, to love himself, to not use other people as a source of fuel, and so on and so forth. So to cut a long story short, because I want to keep these short and sweet, these are little microdoses, not one-day workshops. When you're feeling lower thoughts and feelings, or if there's guilt and I wasn't there at someone's death or I could have done more, look at it from a higher perspective. There'll always be a reason why things happen the way they do. It's what you signed up for. It's what you agreed before you reincarnated, not just with yourself and the universe, but all the players, all the people interacting with your life. Anyway, I think I've harped on for long enough. I'm in England at the moment doing, and I will be doing workshops here, but I'm also going to be doing them now in Italy, Garda, Thailand next year, and Canada. And we've also got Mallorca in the works for the autumn months, but I'm just confirming venues for that. And you'll hear a lot more from me soon. So enjoy your day, let go of things that are holding you back, and move forward fearlessly, because you deserve a happily ever after. Everybody does. We're here to learn lessons, not to dwell on them. Anyway, enough from me. Have a phenomenal day and keep smiling. Love and light, Julie Angel.